Most people within an analysis position right now probably started in some form of internship or placement. The whole question of how ethical these are is a debate for another video, but I thought it would be fun to look back at the internships and placements that I did at the start of my career. Internships can be a great way to get your first taste of working within a club, and a lot of universities now offer placements either for a full year or part of a module. I was at university around 10 years ago, but my first taste of sports analysis actually came before that when I was at sixth form doing my A-levels. One of my teachers at the time had a brother who was the analyst at QPR, so he came into the school and did a bit of a talk with us, and from that day on I was just fascinated by sports analysis. It was really eye-opening for me to basically hear about what he actually did, and from that day on I knew that I wanted to be involved in sports analysis in some way. So after the talk, we stayed in touch and I told him about my plans to go to university in the hopes of becoming a sports analyst. We exchanged messages, which I was really grateful for, and he allowed me to do some small bits and pieces on the side. So everything that was done was basically exchanged back and forward via email. It was only basic stuff like shot maps and maybe some set plays, but to be honest, I didn't really care. I was loving every minute of it. At the time, I didn't really know if what I was doing was actually being used by, the analyst or the club itself, but in all honesty, I didn't really care. I was learning many skills in terms of what actually was done by an analyst in a day-to-day, and that was really invaluable to me. To be honest, I can't remember how long this went on for, but then I ended up at university. I studied sports science for performance coaching at Sheffield Hallam University, and to be honest, I only really selected this course because it had an analysis module within years 2 and 3. In terms of the other modules, I wasn't really, that interested in anything else other than analysis, which I think can probably be confirmed by my attendance record.
Bueller.
So as I mentioned, on my course, the analysis started in the second year, and part of that module, we had to find ourselves a work placement, which I think was for 6 to 8 weeks. So obviously I wanted that to be doing analysis within a football club. I sent out so many emails and messages and I ended up getting a placement at Sheffield United Football Club at their academy. It was local, so basically for me it was pretty much perfect. I remember my first day there and it would be an understatement to say that I was pretty nervous. So I worked under a guy called Jason, who I believe is at Reading now, so shout out Jason. So Jace was, brilliant. He was very friendly, made me feel very comfortable in terms of actually getting used to being within a club, and I learned a lot from Jason. So again, I was really grateful for his help in the early days. Although I had done little bits with QPR, this was the real deal. I was in and around the club full time for about 6 weeks, so it was very different. I had plenty of time to get stuck in and learn as much as I could. So I was filming games, I was coding games, filming training, I was delivering presentations and sitting with coaches and players during one-to-one sessions. So these sessions are where the coaches, a coach would come in with a player one-to-one in terms of those guys, and then the analyst would there to facilitate, to present their clips. So they'd go and review their performance from the previous game. So one player that I do remember doing this for quite regularly was Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Again, obviously I'm sure you all know who that is. So he's gone on to have an amazing career so far, and I'm sure obviously there's more to come from him. So again, it was just that being involved with the coaches and the players was just really, really invaluable. So anyway, the 6-week placement actually ended up being more like a year, as I was moved up to the first team and spent some time with them. I was doing this throughout the third year of uni, and so I would go in a couple of days a week and then on match days as well, and it was really, really good. I was basically doing pre-match opposition stuff to start with, so this included set plays, just watching the opposition and seeing, their trends and how they'd play, the penalties, basic things like that. But then I did sort of move on in terms of the post-match stuff, and we actually built a really cool database with all the Sheffield United stats in there for all their players. So that was really good, looking at it from both the pre-match and the post-match perspective. Being around the first team, going to pre-match meetings, presentations, meals, being in and around the changing rooms is a real eye-opener. It was amazing to be a small part of a team that almost won promotion. I believe we lost in the playoffs that year, which was very unfortunate. Before I move on to my next piece of work experience, I want to draw your attention to the subscribe button below the video. So if you haven't already, please do subscribe to the channel. Also consider liking the video. It will help the channel grow and help for these kind of videos to be seen by more people. Right, so next came a short stint at Peterborough United. So this was just 1, maybe 2 days a week sometimes, and it went on for just 1 or 2 months. So this actually came on the back of my initial inquiry for a placement at university. So obviously I got the Sheffield United job as an internship at the time as part of the module. but Peterborough didn't get back to me at the time, but then it was later on that they did reply. So they didn't need someone originally, but obviously they kept my details on file and they contacted me and reached out to me when they did need someone. So I got back, heard back from those guys, and I say went in there for a couple of days a week for a couple of months. This was under Darren Ferguson, and again, it was mainly opposition stuff. So it was watching the next opponents and picking out, important clips to be used in the pre-match presentation and meeting for the gaffer and the coaches. It was a short-ish experience, but it was another club that I was involved in, so I was very grateful for that. I got to work closely with the coaches and the managers, so it definitely was a very worthwhile experience. I will say that everything up until this point was unpaid, so I was actually out of pocket for doing all of this work. I didn't receive any travel expenses from any of the clubs, which is obviously not ideal. So that is, I'm sure, a debate for another video, but let's carry on with, the next piece of experience that I did actually get. So after the Peterborough and the Sheffield United, this actually brought me to the end of my degree. So I had graduated with a 2-1, and I had, got myself some experience under my belt. So I'd worked with both first team and academy in 3 different clubs, which was very useful. So now to find a job or another internship. At the end of my degree, I had actually already started my business at that point, but back then it was more of a hobby. It wasn't really making much money at all. So I did still want a job. Of all the places, I actually ended up at Brighton and Hove Albion. So this was the first time that I've actually had to move away for a job. So it was a very, very big step for me. The job was actually an internship, but it did include some pay. I will stress the word some pay. It basically covered my expenses and that was it, but it was better than nothing. Brighton is an amazing club. It was worlds apart from anything that I'd experienced before in terms of the facilities and the software that they were using and the staff members that they had, for example. And that was before they actually got promoted to the Premier League and built a new training ground, etc. So, it was a very big step for me. It was so different to what I've been used to. And obviously that was really, really exciting for me at the time. They had several analysts there mixed between first team, academy and recruitment. They had basically all the best hardware, all the best software that was, required to do the job. It was absolutely brilliant and I enjoyed every single minute of my time at Brighton. The whole thing was so much fun. So I made friends there that I still have today. Some of those guys are still at Brighton from my time there, and others have obviously moved on to different clubs, but we've kept in contact and we still remain friends. Anyway, I went down there as a recruitment analyst intern. So this was something completely new to me. It was different, but it was actually really exciting and very, very interesting. I was watching players from all over the world. I was creating dossiers, databases, and researching all sorts of different stuff. It was brilliant. I really enjoyed this side of analysis and I really did learn a lot. Whilst I was at Brighton, there was some personnel changes, which meant that halfway through my internship, I moved from the recruitment side of things to actually help with the first team. This was mainly opposition stuff, so this was watching the upcoming opponents, clipping their games, creating certain clips, certain dossiers and certain reports. So we would give all of our players almost like a little pack so they would know what to expect from their opposite number come game day. I also did some filming for the first team games, which obviously at the Amex Stadium, which is a lovely stadium. That was another great experience for me as well. My time at Brighton was a full season, and after the time was up, unfortunately, there were no jobs available apart from another internship. So that meant I headed back up north. I did look at other jobs, but ultimately I wanted to settle down and try and grow my business, and eventually I went full-time with that. I did, however, use my new skills and new contacts to help get my business up and running. So although I'd gone down a slightly different route, the internships were still very valuable even to me. Anyway, that's it for this video. So I hope you enjoyed learning or listening about the experiences that I had when I was kind of going through my internships. Maybe that is, a similar path to what you're going through now. As I mentioned, I do have another video planned, which will be sort of a discussion on the debate of unpaid work and internships. So make sure you are subscribed to the channel to be able to see that one. Thanks again for watching. Have a great day and I hope to see you in the next video.